History is full of strange details that only make sense when you know the world around them. In these 8 stories, one decision, one convention, or one overlooked record changes the meaning of the whole scene. An ancient Chinese political manual ends with a chapter on zither music. That is a strange place for a music lesson. The book was framed as a guide to rule in ancient China. Its pages move from government to a later added section on music. That posthumous chapter did not sit outside elite learning. In this world, political thought and zither music belonged to the same educated circle. So the manual's structure linked rule with cultivated arts. A reader met governance, then music, in one continuous volume. For an elite reader, a zither was not a detour. It sat beside the manual as another tool of refinement, beside the manuscript page. Shah Jahan appears only in profile in a 17th century painting, not face on, just one turned cheek and a sideways gaze. That image comes from Mughal court art, where painting followed strict ideas of rank. A ruler's pose mattered as much as his clothes. The reason is simple. A head-on view of the emperor could be read as disrespectful. The profile view solved that by keeping dignity intact. So the painter used a side view, not to hide Shah Jahan, but to honor him. The pose fit court etiquette and kept the emperor recognizable. That turned face is the clue. In one portrait, a small angle carries the rules of a whole court. Arlington Forest was shaped by house plans and racially restrictive covenants at the same time. In that planning era, developers looked to U.S. government recommendations for how a subdivision should be arranged. Those recommendations covered residential architecture and also asked for racially restrictive covenants in the development plan. So one neighborhood could follow official design advice while also building exclusion into its rules. Today, a row of houses and a neighborhood plat carry both parts of that history in plain view. William Bloomfield appears in the record as the first known Maori architect. That is a rare first in a profession built on plans and names. To understand it, you need the historical record. Architecture depends on drawings, signatures, and paperwork that survive after the building is gone. Bloomfield matters because surviving evidence identifies him as Maori and as an architect. A draft line, a building plan, and a name can place someone in history. That changes the profession's story. The record no longer reads as if Maori presence arrived late or not at all. So Bloomfield is more than a name on paper. He sits beside the plan, the building, and the record that kept him visible. An NFL team and a local high school played in the same city stadium. For more than 30 years, the field had both kinds of home games. In Green Bay, Wisconsin, the Packers were already a major local team. A nearby high school also needed a place to play. City Stadium handled both by splitting its calendar. The same grass hosted pro home games and school use across the season. That overlap lasted for over 30 years. It worked because the city had one stadium and 2 teams that needed it. The arrangement turned one field into a shared local asset. On different nights, the same bleachers held school crowds and pro football fans. A Christmas cantata borrowed folk music. In Telemann's world, that was a strange sound to hear inside church music. George Philip Telemann wrote the piece in 1720 for Christmas. He usually worked in church music, where folk material was not a common choice. The surprise was the blend itself. A familiar folk melody sat inside a sacred cantata, making the music sound more direct and plain. That rare choice changed the mood at once. The Christmas piece carried a more familiar sound world, without leaving the church behind. On the score page, the contrast is easy to see. A church cantata, a simple melody line, and Telemann's rare folk touch meet in one page. A British warship class carried lessons from the American Civil War. The Amazon-class sloops were not built in isolation. Britain watched that war closely because naval engineering was changing fast. New ships, new armor, and new tactics gave designers fresh problems to study. Designers drew lessons from those American warships and translated them into British choices. The Amazon-class sloops carried that influence through their design, not through direct copying. The immediate result was a British class shaped by observation across the Atlantic. Naval ideas now moved with reports, sketches, and comparisons between fleets. A war fought in America left its mark on a British sloop line. The trail runs from battlefield reports to a hull, then to the Navy Yard. Many mainland Aboriginal languages may point back to one ancestor. It was spoken around 6,000 years ago. That does not mean one modern language spread everywhere. It means historical linguists compare related speech and look for shared descent. By lining up words and speech sounds, they infer a common ancestor. The estimate is around 6,000 years old. That turns language diversity into a shared family history across mainland Australia. Separate languages can still carry traces of one older source. So the many languages are not isolated pieces, they sit on one deep branch, like leaves on a single tree in Australia. That's the thread running through all of them. History is often hiding in the small print. If one of these surprised you, subscribe and tell us which detail you want unpacked next.